This is Locked On NFL Players Squad Show, where real players talk real football. No filters, no fluff, just raw insight straight from the guys who've been in the trenches, in the locker room, and under the lights. You want the truth about a game? You're in the right place. It's the NFL Players Squad on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on, folks? Welcome into the NFL Players Squad Show. First things first, breaking news, Mike Tomlin has stepped down as head coach. We're recording this on Tuesday the 13th. So he stepped down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. 19 years as a head coach. He's, illustrious career. He's stepping down. So that's just going to take over the brunt of the show, a little bit of it at least. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Mike Tomlin, he had a career record in 193 total wins, 114 losses, only 2 ties. Never, not ever did he have a losing season as a head coach. What do you got? Shoot, Jamil, what do you think, man? Legendary head coach like that, he's stepping down. Was it time?
Yeah, legendary for sure. I don't want to say that it was time, but I do think that when you look at the move by Mike Tomlin, I think that it has run its course with the Steelers. Obviously, since Big Ben retiring, they haven't really invested in the quarterback position. Now, he's had at least a top paid defense, throughout the years that he's been there. Not to say that they've always performed, but we know the Steelers as being, one of the better defenses in the league with Mike Tomlin leading them. And so I think more than anything, it's just a sign from him that he feels the relationship has ran its course. I don't think that he feels that they're going to do anything from a quarterback standpoint that would allow him to compete in the playoffs every year. And so I just feel like it has ran its course, and he wants to move on and go find a better situation.
After that long, I feel like, shoot, I may go sit behind the desk or something. He can't come and take my job over here, but he could get some media gigs for a year to take a little bit of time off. Z, you up there in Chicago, man. What are you thinking about Tomlin stepping down? What do you think he does next?
Wow, he can do whatever he wants. He wants to be a head coach. He's got a job right away. He wants to go into media. He'll get that right away too. So, he has the best of both worlds. But if he wants to coach, he's got to decide that soon, because, those spots will start getting scooped up here in the next 10 days or so. They'll start dropping probably. So, I assume he'd probably go media, probably for the year or whatever, and just take the year off and then get his toes back into, coaching.
That'd be interesting to see how that rolls out. But big change, big reason that he's gone is essentially just the game that happened, right? The Steelers got crushed by the Texans. And frankly, CJ Stroud tried to keep the Steelers in the game a little bit. There was some turnovers, some fumbles, and I was like, man, you really messing it up. Because I was saying the aura up there in Pittsburgh, the terrible towels and just all of that can weigh on you a little bit. And their defense, the Steelers defense, made some plays. But ultimately, Lincoln, too much defense, too much Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, the secondary from the Texans. They crushed the Steelers, man. What was your overall takeaway from that matchup?
Well, going into it, I think we had talked about it on last week's show, that Houston defense has just been annihilating people all year, and especially when they got on that win streak. Even though they were still inconsistent with their offense, they had the ability defensively to make things hard on you. I remember watching closely that Buffalo-Houston game, and when they were all over Josh Allen. So, I thought that was sort of a prelude of what to come, especially with those defensive ends. Look, I think Houston has its ability to go as far as that defense is going to take them. Again, we go with the inconsistencies of Stroud, as you mentioned, with the interceptions. He's been prone to do that, especially when he feels flustered and forced by, potentially that Pittsburgh rush. I know he was looking out of the corner of his eye at TJ Watt most of the night. Coming off that corner and worrying if he was going to get hit by him. So I know that plays a part in their mind, and Houston's good. And just want to backtrack for the Mike Tomlin thing. Look, guys, I think we're seeing a sort of sign of the times. When you talk about what Harbaugh, the pattern of success he had at Baltimore, you talk about Tomlin, the pattern of success he had at Pittsburgh. Both of those coaches won championships. But I do firmly believe today's athlete is really different than what we are accustomed to. and what we've seen in the past generations, especially when we played. And the best way to address that is to have some fresh thoughts come in to how to motivate that. Because let's face it, these guys are now being paid in college. So what's their motivation to be paid on the next level? If they're staying 6-7 years in college, traveling around in the porter trainable, you got to have a coach who's willing to deal with that and understand how to bring the motivation out of that. And there's certain times where the generational gap just passes you over. And for Tomlin in Pittsburgh, for all the times they had that defense, they couldn't really finalize an offensive line. They couldn't get consistency with quarterback. Hell, couldn't even get consistency out of their star players. Remember how much of a disruption George Pickens was when he was there. Yeah. Guys like that, and I think that's what you have to deal with. So, I think Tomlin. I think Tomlin goes into media. I agree with you, Jamil. Tomlin goes into media, and it's a very cushy job once you sit behind that desk analyzing, talking trash about other teams. So I think he goes in media, and if he wants to go back in coaching, he's going to have his card wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, I tell you what, you can make a take on in the media space, and then don't nobody got to boo you in your own home stadium. So I mean, that might have been something that was like, you know what, man, I don't need to sit here and take all of this. Jerry, Lincoln's talking about the new players are different now. Sean McDermott's done a pretty good job of relating to the younger players. How do you see the head coaches now? I mean, obviously, we all had old school, just all head coaches had white hair, real short shorts, and a bad attitude. Like that's what a football coach looked like. Now they're young and they got glasses and they're using statistics and algorithms. I mean, what's your biggest difference between the players now, the guys getting into the league now, rather than back in the gap?
You're talking about a guy whose head coach was 80 years old when he was coaching him in Marv Levy, who just turned 100, right? He's still kicking at 100 years old. But I think what Lincoln had to say was spot on with Pittsburgh, and it kind of it hurt the Steelers by how they built their roster, because they went back to they kept their older guys instead of moving on. They never were able to get the young quarterback to come in. Tomlin kept going to the older experienced guys because that's what he was comfortable with as far as coaching, and it hurt their roster. And right now that's a pretty old roster, and they need to figure out a way to get younger. I think Lincoln was spot on with that, but no, I think the biggest thing that McDermott does is you got to allow these kids to be individuals within a team structure. So I kind of liken it to like, you guys got kids and stuff, mom and dad, right? Dad's like, get your, in there and get it done. Mom's like this, she'll take a couple windy roads and everything, and she gets them to do the same thing you want them to do, except there's no crying and there's no yelling. And, and it's kind of, that's how you got to handle these players nowadays. You got to let them be individuals. If you ever watch the Bills social media, the content creation team, the stuff they put out and what these guys are doing, and, Deion Dawkins is drifting cars with his everybody knows, got ski goggles on and just all the stuff they do, but yet they do respond well they have their rules. McDermott has his non-negotiables that he will never give up on, but he allows those guys to be individuals if they continue to hit those benchmarks. And I think that's how you have to do it nowadays with social media, the phones, Instagram, everybody got a podcast. You can't police that stuff anymore. You can't come in and say, no, you can't do that. You got to let them be themselves, but they can do that. The reward is they can do that if they hit these benchmarks. And I think that's the biggest thing.
That's a good insight there. Taking it back to Pittsburgh, Brad, let's go over there with you. That's the organization. They've only had 3 head coaches. You know what I mean? You've had 3 head coaches in ever, right? Bill Cowher, Chuck Noll, and then Mike Tomlin. They coached for a really long time. I mean, who would you say is a favorite over there? Is there a chance that John Harbaugh, finds a way to the top of the list, or are they going to go with a Chudzinski or Stefanski? That's what I'm talking about, Stefanski or anybody else. Who you thinking may find his way over there in Pittsburgh?
Oh, gosh. I mean, it is so early to tell right now. And who knows what
Bradford Banta, that's who they're going to hire.
Yeah.
DC.
Well, whenever Tomlin was hired, he was a pick. Was it 19 years ago? And everybody was like, really? He was 1 year as a defensive coordinator and then hired as a head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He spent a ton of time with the Tampa organization and was a William and Mary grad. But he did something in his interview to impress the Rooneys to say, you know what, this is our guy, and this is who we want to roll with at this point in time for the long haul. And little did anybody know that it was going to be 19 years later that they're going to be looking for a replacement. My question would be, what did he do to stand out in his interview, knowing the tradition of the Steelers, knowing how they operate as an organization? I think that they will probably go outside the box or go outside the organization to hire. That's just my gut feeling right now. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if they hired inside the organization, but if they're looking for a true change, personality-wise, then they're going to go outside the organization, but it's going to be somebody that is really a defensive, hard-nosed, minded person. First person that comes to mind is
Brian Flores.
Exactly. So, I mean, everybody knows their boys, Tomlin and Flores. So
Similar
I would not
too.
be surprised if he ended up there as the head coach. And they're not afraid to take the heat, just considering what Brian has on his plate versus the NFL.
Yeah, facts. I mean, he's already same vibe coming from the defensive coordinator in Minnesota. Fits the same mentality, the aggressive, applying pressure. It mixes some things up because over here in Commanders land, we're trying to find a defensive coordinator, hiring from within to get David Blau as well. So we're going to get back to some of the coaching openings, but I want to go back to just some of the wildness of this weekend. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. You have unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. In Gusto, they have automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits, which save hours every single week. And knowing that you can reach certified HR experts makes handling anything that happens with peace of mind. So look, try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. One more time, that's gusto.com/lockedonnfl. All right, some crazy games. Mark, neither of our teams was in there, man. What game did you have your eyes on? I know what we can do. Let's pick on Philly. San Francisco and Philly. It's always good to do that.
Hey, didn't I say
Philly?
I think we are. I think I picked San Fran to win that game. Who else was with me?
I don't remember.
Okay,
there you go.
I can barely remember yesterday.
Yeah,
I wasn't on the show last week, but I got receipts. I got multiple receipts. I picked San Fran.
Yeah, because one of the reasons. The main reason was the turmoil in the locker room, and we all saw what happened on the sideline, right? All right, Anthony Brown and the coach got into it. Yeah, that stuff's been going on the whole season. That's the outside part, and of course, it translates to how you play. The running game wasn't there. Saquon's getting stopped. That team is not the same as it was last year. Now. Is that the reason why I picked San Fran to beat Philly? Yes, because Philly ain't Philly as last year. It's a whole different team. And San Fran were playing well. Even with the injuries, they still had enough to do what they did to beat Philly in Philly and blew that whole thing. So that game I really watched wholeheartedly. I mean, all the games I watched. The biggest one I watched was the Steelers and the Texans.
Yeah.
And to me, from a defensive perspective, Pittsburgh had the Texans exactly where they wanted them. Pittsburgh lost that game at the 11:33 point of the game when Texas got that strip and they ran that touchdown. They're down by 4 points. It's 10-6. If I was Pittsburgh, I would just ran the ball. Take the air out of the ball. You got this team exactly where you wanted them, and that offense was kind of collapsing a little bit. Texans fumbling the ball, trying to do trick plays and doing all kind of crap. You got them exactly where you want them. All you got to do is take the air out of the ball, get them with 6 minutes in the fourth quarter, and put the pressure on that offense to beat you. The defense did enough to win. They didn't do it. They get a fumble, they run for a touchdown, and then Pittsburgh's playing behind the ball. They got to throw the ball, and they get a pick six and run it in. They had them where they wanted them. The weirdest game, but, all the games were good, but I digress. I leave it up to you guys to go on, to move it on.
Yeah, we'll do that. Jerry, let's bring you in. Since your Bills got themselves a W, they were challenged, though. It was tough. They started out the week over at FanDuel. They were 1.5-point favorites. By the time kickoff came around, those odds had flipped. They were 1.5-point dogs. How'd they get it done, man?
Well, they got it done a couple of ways. They got it done by Josh Allen being efficient and not holding on to the football and doing stupid things with it. If you look at his completion percentage over expectation, he led all wild card quarterbacks with 14.1%. His time to throw was 2.46. He got the ball out. He made the checkdowns he needed to make. He made a couple of those Josh Allen type plays. That throw to the Cooks was with a blitzer in his face was insane. But, the Bills did what they did, and this is without a running game. This is the first time all season they were able to do it without James Cook really establishing that running game. The other way they did it, it was what I always thought was going to be the key to the game. McDermott and Babbage are masterful at disguising coverages and confusing quarterbacks.
Right, yeah.
And I felt that Jacksonville team that Jacksonville team, if you were to take Josh Allen or some of these other quarterbacks, put it on it, you might start talking multiple Super Bowl titles. They're that good. They're a really good football team. But I didn't think Lawrence could handle that type of stuff, and he showed it. He turned the ball over twice. A lot of confusion out of him, and just an unreal job by that secondary doing what they do as far as disguising coverages and confusing quarterbacks and forcing the ball in the areas. Really, the turning point of the game to me was, and I don't understand what Liam Cohen was thinking, and there's a really weird phenomenon in the NFL, especially with these young hotshot coordinators. They feel a need to validate their quarterback. Okay, and they're playing Josh Allen, so I got to validate Trevor Lawrence, and I'm like, what's wrong with getting 8, 9, 15, 20 yards a carry against the Bills' rush defense that's awful?
Yeah.
And they were ripping, the speed. They were hitting outside with these toss plays and the speed. They have 3-4-3 backs in their backfield. Yeah. And they were ripping off plays at will, but all of a sudden he decided he wanted to validate the passing game. And I was like, thank you very much. And, tight game until the fourth quarter. There's 28 total points scored in the fourth quarter, and haymakers thrown, and Josh threw the last one, and they were able to get it done. Man,
experienced head coach, taking it down there with the experience with Sean McDermott and the Bills. He, led it past the young Jaguars and Liam Cohen, first-year head coach.
I got a question. For you guys, and we discussed this, and we were kind of split 50-50, and I think you guys could break that tie. But I don't know if you watched the game, but at the end of the game, the Jaguars they had that 11-yard. They called it a tush push. Basically, Osiris Torrance picked up Josh Allen and carried him for about 11 yards. They get down to the 1-yard line. There's about 1 minute and 5 seconds left. McDermott chooses to just go ahead and sneak it in. They let him score, so they get the ball back with about a minute left with no timeouts. Jacksonville does have a minute. Is there any way would you risk taking a knee, maybe something crazy happening with an exchange or something, and then score on third down or burn some clock? Or do you score right away? Because
you got to score right away.
I said you score right away because the dude that snapped it and done all that, I'm like petrified. Like every time, I don't want to do that. Yeah. But the fan base, of course, always having to have something to talk about and complain about. McDermott's had done, we should have ran clock off, and I'm like, you can't do that.
Yeah, so I think you got to score right away. You're down. There's under 2 minutes left on the clock. You got to score right away and allow your defense to go finish the game. I think if you play around and you say, "Oh, we're gonna, spend an extra 2 downs and hopefully we take 40 seconds off the clock," you're not guaranteed to get in that end
Yeah.
zone. So
I agree.
You got to take it when you
Oh,
can.
absolutely.
What I'm worried about with the Bills, though, is Josh Allen took a beating in that game.
He did.
And we all understand his play style. And we know that he's gonna, it's risk reward, right? But how far can that go in terms of, we know he's playing injured? There's a foot injury, there's a knee injury. His hand was hit on an offensive lineman's helmet. Like, this guy is he's putting so much on himself to get the dubs out of this game. But man, at some point you got to be able to see the guy just be a pocket passer and kind of take those risks when it's needed. I understand it's the playoffs, but I am nervous about his longevity, especially if they don't get it done this year. It kind of, takes some life off of your career, if you'll say.
I just want to throw my 2 cents in. I think this is the Bills' year. Honestly, if they don't get it done, this AFC is going to catch up with them dramatically. And the Jaguars are a good team on the rise, but Josh Allen and the Bills have been there, and they could not get over the Kansas City hump. Well, the Kansas City hump's not there. This is your best chance and best opportunity to make a run. And I agree with you, JD. He did take a beating, but I think that window for the Buffalo, this team, the way they've got dynamic, is slowly closing as far as the future. You got to get it while the getting's hot. And JD, Jo, I agree with you, man. You score. I don't play for field goals, and I don't play for what ifs. If I have a chance to get in the end zone, that's the reason why I got a defensive coordinator. That's why I have a defense. I'm playing to score. I'm scoring to win. That's what I do.
You got to understand this, though, which is crazy about this. And I understand what you're talking about as far as windows and all that. But with injuries, missing on draft picks, and not addressing certain needs at the trade deadline, this by far is the worst roster they've had since the Josh Allen era started.
Really?
Yeah.
It is the absolute worst roster. Here's a prime example. They pick up Brandon Cooks off the he gets cut.
Mm-hmm.
Get him picked up off the cut wire or whatever. He's so valuable to the team after 4 weeks, they don't even play him in week 18. They got to protect him. And this guy just got off the street like 4 weeks ago. That's how much they don't have a separation deep threat. And of course, you saw how much he's doing already and the difference it's making. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I agree. I mean, this is a team that's going on the road they're gonna have to win 4 road games.
Well, it just goes to show there's no dominant teams. I mean,
no.
There's none. So this is the Bills. Like Kenny said, this is the Bills' shot. There's no dominant team. There's no world beaters. All these guys are basically even.
Yeah.
And even though this is Buffalo's worst roster, man, I'm pulling for Buffalo, to be honest with you, to get it done.
I'm gonna put this question out there for y'all, and y'all think on it. We'll come back and we'll address it later. Which of these teams, like, what team has that it factor, right? Mark is saying they're all even. So think about which one of these teams has that it factor that's going to push them past everybody else. So think about that as you go. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of our business and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. And I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes the replies faster and that much more personal. It works right from your phone or your computer, and you can even keep your existing number. And Quo's smart AI tools automatically log your phone calls, summarize the conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. It's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo entrepreneurs and operators to growing teams. Now make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free and get 20% off of your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnfl. That's QUO.com/lockedonnfl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. we're gonna head up there to Chicago with Z. Hell of a game right there, man. Chicago and Green Bay. That was pure cinema. Caleb Williams grating cheese after the game, the little handshake, high five, screaming in your face thing after the matchup. Man, I tell you, yeah, that's gonna be a pretty good rivalry over the next couple of years, man. What's the tone up there in Chicago? And now they have the 49ers coming in. What are you feeling after that game?
I mean, being born and raised here in Chicago, and being a Bears fan back when I was growing up, and having the season tickets and all that, it's back to the old days, to the 85 Bears up here with these fans. I mean, you go to the store now, everybody's wearing their Bears stuff. I went to church on Sunday. Everybody was in their Bears stuff, and it's good to see that for these fans up here. They've been dying for a winner. It's been years since they've had a team this good up here. And, I'm happy for them, and in Green Bay, when you can beat Green Bay, it's always a plus, It's like back when I was a Steeler, when you beat Cleveland. One year we beat them 3 times. We swept them. It's great. You beat your biggest rival of the year, especially in the playoffs. It's electric. And then for them to beat the Bears or beat the Packers like they did, coming back from 21-3 at half or something like that, right? To come back, it was unbelievable. But again, the Bears, I've been watching a lot of it, because of A, I'm up here, and B, my nephew's on the team, and fourth quarter is the Bears own it. Yeah. I mean, how many comebacks they had this year in the fourth quarter? They'd be down a lot, and all of a sudden, like my daughter and I are sitting, I go, don't worry about it. It's not the fourth quarter yet. She goes, what do you mean, Dad? I go, the fourth quarter, the Bears are going to come back and they're going to win. They do it every week, it seems like, and they did. It's like, here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah, Commanders had that cardiac trait, the cardiac Bears right now. They find a way to win. That stuff kind of runs out on you eventually, so we'll see how long that magic lasts. We talk about coaching changes. Matt LaFleur's future in Green Bay is a little murky. That cheese is a little cloudy right now, Mark. What you thinking, man?
It's unfortunate that we're talking about guys who really won, and LaFleur's up there. And even Mike Tomlin, I'm going to talk about him just a little bit. 19 years, and they had 3 coaches, right? Pittsburgh. His biggest failure, and whether you guys agree or not, I think his downfall was he missed on his quarterback. Because the transition from Big Ben to Kenny Pickett, and they drafted him the first round, 20th pick overall, and he missed on it. And that was his biggest downfall, because whenever you miss on a quarterback, it's going to set you back. And during his latter part of his tenure, last maybe 8 years or so, 7, 8 years, he didn't have a quarterback. And he's been doing the piecemeal kind of deal. It's like driving a car with 3 good tires. You get a blowout on that 4th, and you riding that donut on 4 good tires. That was his last part of his tenure because he missed on his quarterback. So I think he'll get another job. Now, as far as LaFleur, everybody's talking about he's going to leave and get fired. He's not going anywhere. I mean, there's nobody out there you want to replace him with anyway, unless even if it's a Harbaugh or a Tomlin. He's connected. He's young enough to he's taken the Packers from where they were, the transition from Rodgers to now Love, and doing pretty well. Just can't get over the hump. He's not going anywhere, and that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, we're gonna see how it rolls down. I think they built that team around what he wants, and he's got it installed the right way. Everybody runs his system. That's why he doesn't necessarily need big name receivers. Just everybody does the right thing, and they're in the right spot. So that helps them out. One other matchup, New England easily put out the electricity from the Chargers. We don't got to hang out with that too long. They kind of made the Chargers look phony. I don't know about y'all. Look a little fugazi the way they put Belter behind on that one. But one that was really interesting was the Rams surviving against Carolina. Everybody thought, the Rams going to handle it. Carolina was trying to steal somebody's Christmas, Jamil.
Yeah. They definitely were. I think I've teetered back and forth with Carolina all year. There were times where I'm like, okay, I see the improvement of Bryce Young, and this team is rallying around him. And the truth of the matter is, like, they actually have a good thing going. They got a defense. They play hard on offense. Their offensive line plays well together, and Bryce Young is figuring it out.
Yeah.
That game for the Rams, though, is what the Rams needed. The atmosphere that they played in, it was rocking in Carolina. And the fact that, the Rams had to battle back. That last drive from Matt Stafford is exactly why I think a lot of us have said he's having the MVP caliber season. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Devontae Adams where he said Matt Stafford, before they walked on the field, said, "Let's go snatch these guys' hearts." That's all I need. That's all I needed to hear, because they're going to be the fact that they're battle tested on the road. I understand the game went how it went, but you need that if you're the Rams and you're supposedly the favorite. Outside of the Bears from the NFC, I think that they needed that in the first round. So it was a great game to watch. I enjoyed it. They were blow for blow, every quarter. But I think the Rams would be better for winning that game moving forward.
Need a little bit of adversity. Lincoln, what you got on that squad?
I totally agree. Look, I think the Rams are a part of one of the most competitive divisions this year in football. All three playoff teams had double-digit wins. That says something about the teams that you're playing against. Also says something about where you are. I think Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, is the MVP of this year, and especially the way he's playing. That adversity brings the best out of teams. It allows you to mature when you're on a team like that and facing that adversity. And look, the Rams have to go on the road. They're still my favorite to go to San Francisco and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, especially coming through this game. But I respect the challenge that Carolina gave. More importantly, I respect the Rams roster and the pieces that they've got are definitive and what they've been able to do, not only with their offense, but most notably with their defense. I think they're going to be a hard out. That's one of the teams I think are really focusing on and out of the NFC.
Brad, what you got? Man?
No, look, guys, I agree with everything that's been said. And look here, I think Carolina looked like a team that's ahead of schedule just by the way that they played in the playoffs. But January, as we all know, punishes one or two bad series, and that's exactly what happened to Carolina. But with the Rams, as far as they're concerned, look, Stafford was in in-game mode. When it tightened up, he still found the answers. And if you're the Rams, the phrase that comes to my mind is like playoff opener stress. They're on the road. They're all the way across the country. They probably showed up there 2 days before. And look, it's officially a tradition. But the thing that I like about the Rams is you have two legit receivers. You got two legit running backs. They can get it done. And then you have McVay calling the offense and then Shula with the defense. They're getting it done. They had a hiccup with the block punt this past week, which was totally the left wing's fault. And I know Ben Kotwika, the special teams coordinator now, is going to get blamed for it, which they always do, even though it was the Jamoke on the field that let the guy get by and with the block punt. But look, they're a complete team. And I've said it since day one. I was on the staff that drafted Matthew over in Detroit. And, the fans kept saying, Matthew this, Matthew that, and we weren't doing very well. Well, it was personnel that we surrounded him with. And if it boils down to it, you look at all the quarterbacks around the league, you're like, okay, call all 31 other teams. Ask them this question. Do you want to trade quarterbacks with us? I would imagine at any point during Matthew's career, any one of those 31 other teams, not 31, let's say 28, would be like, yeah, sign me up. Let's go player for player. That's the kind of player that I think Matthew is. And talking about what y'all were saying earlier, MVP type candidate and MVP season to be had this year.
He's going to have to continue this same role into this divisional round, into the playoffs, and just a couple of the matchups here. I think there's a matchup of young versus old, right? You've got young quarterbacks Caleb Williams is in his second year. Matt Stafford is in year 17. Still young quarterback with Drake May and C.J. Stroud. Purdy and Darnold, that's a little young versus old matchup right there. Josh Allen's one of the elder statements going against Bo Nix. Of those young quarterbacks out there in the league, I'm thinking like Nix, May. You can maybe even throw in a C.J. Stroud and a Caleb Williams. Which one do you trust the most out of all of them? Let's start with Jamil.
Oh man, yeah.
You was looking right at me. I was like, hey, he must be ready to go.
Okay. I'll say, man, that is a tough question. CJ Stroud completely threw me off last night with the ball security. I don't know if I'm gonna give you an answer.
That's fine. Let me move on then.
Let me say, wait.
The buzzer been pushed down.
Let me say, after this year, so far, out of the young quarterbacks, I'll say, yeah, I can't give you an answer.
Mark, what you got, man? Mark, give me something.
You know, I don't trust Bo Nix at all, and based on what I saw last year in the playoffs. But I tell you, Drake May, he looks so calm and collected. And I think he's that way because of who his coach is. And his offensive coordinator. I just think he has this, you know, we're good. Whatever something goes wrong, we'll get it. We're okay. I trust that. I see that. So that's what I'm going to trust, Drake May.
Already. Brad, what you got?
Look, is Purdy?
He's in year 4. You can put him in there. Why not? Jamil, I'll let you put Purdy in the mix if you want to.
No. Because we saw the game versus Philly. Purdy, my issue with Purdy is there's times where there's errant throws that, or even before halftime when they're trying to get out of bounds to kick a field goal, and I don't know what he was doing, and he fumbles the ball, and the time runs off. So I can't put Purdy in there. I'll say Drake May. I'll say Drake May too. I'll say Drake May.
On the Purdy deal, let me do the Brad Banta thing and say there's only like 1 or 2 teams that Brock Purdy can play for. Flip it from when Stafford. Purdy is a West Coast. That is what he can do. That is it. Period. End of discussion. He is an excellent West Coast quarterback in that system of Shanahan's. I don't see him going to many other places and doing what he's doing out there, and I just don't see it.
I think he plays with the right type of anticipation for a Shanahan system, right? Like Cal's going to call it, and you got to anticipate the throw.
How can Purdy be in the young quarterbacks?
He ain't been 4 years.
Yeah, but he played in the Super Bowl already, so he's experienced. So that don't count.
Fine, we'll take it. Oh, you put him in.
Take him off the board.
Don't make me no mind.
Take him off the board.
There's only 2 quarterbacks to really choose from: is Drake May and Bo Nix.
That's what it should be.
As the new year gets going, a lot of people are trying to simplify their routines, and dinner is a big one. You have busy work days, cold winter nights, and packed schedules. Having an easy, reliable dinner plan makes a huge difference, and that's where Home Chef comes in. Home Chef takes the stress out of cooking by delivering fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door with easy-to-follow recipes that actually taste great. They're rated #1 by users of all other meal kits for quality, convenience, value, taste, and recipe ease, and it's easy to see why. Meals come ready to fit in your schedule. You have 30-minute recipes, oven-ready trays, or quick lunches. There's over 30 weekly options, including family-sized meals and different dietary choices. The recipes are simple but feel elevated, even restaurant quality, with dishes co-created by chefs like Gordon Ramsay. Everything arrives pre-portioned, so there's no issues, there's less prep, there's less mess, and there's no wasted food. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on their groceries. And for a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 50% off of your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Just go to homechef.com/lockedon. That's homechef.com/lockedon for 50% off of your first box, free shipping, and free dessert for life. Must be an active subscriber to receive the free dessert. So we talking about Bo Nix. He's 1.5-point underdog. He's got Josh Allen coming into town, man. What are you looking at in this matchup? Because when we look at the Buffalo Bills versus the Texans back in the gap, that pass rush got after him. Now you get Nick Bonito and crew off of a bye week. Are they going to be ready, or are they going to come in a little bit lagging, a little bit, had a little bit too much recreation up there in Colorado, if you will. Maybe they come a little bit slow. I don't know, Z. What do you see happening in this match?
Vance has got that defense rolling. I mean, how many sacks? They had 57 sacks for the season. That's a lot of sacks now. And the Texans are right behind him. I get that. But still, that defense of Denver has been playing very well. You know what I'm saying? And Bo's just got to manage the game on offense, because, again, Buffalo's defense, they played better last week, and I thought, and they got some turnovers. But, again, Sean's going to have, Bo tuned up on all the coverages and everything, and I think he's going to be able to, compete and just move the ball. As long as he doesn't turn it over, they got a chance to beat Josh, because that defense of Denver's is pretty good, man. They're coming. They got good corners and they got good up front. That can be disastrous for Buffalo.
Yeah, Professor Kennedy, you're following the Broncos a little bit by proxy. What do you see?
Don't necessarily trust Bo Nix altogether to be the one who's going to win the game. I think it's going to be defensive strength, and that's been their strength all season. But I also know this: Buffalo is an experienced team and having been on the road. Much to Jerry's points he was talking about earlier, I think stand out true going on the road back to Denver. If there's any way that you want to attack these undersized defensive ends, glorified outside linebackers, you run the ball.
Yep.
Strength, run the ball. You have that ability. Buffalo has that ability. Take a page out of the Houston Texans game. Don't sit there and try to be pass happy against this defense. You're setting yourself up. That's where I think the experience comes in. Team experience comes in. That's why the win over Jacksonville was a gritty win. That's what you get. You work your way up to, and you've got good momentum as you work into the game plan for this upcoming week. I think Denver has done a tremendous job putting themselves in the number 1 seed, getting the first round bye, but there's still a young team that hasn't really been there and been to those big glorified games like Buffalo has. I'm taking experience over youth and athleticism. I like Buffalo in this game.
I can get behind that. I mean, Buffalo's giving up about 1,500 yards on the ground, 3.9 yard per carry, but they also play a lot of really close games. So is it going to be a lot of Superman, Josh Allen, Jerry? What are you thinking?
I think you're going to see a lot of what you saw last week. The difference is I think the Bills will be able to run the ball better against the Broncos, considering they're not playing the number 1 rush defense in the NFL. That Jacksonville front was for real as far as stopping the run. But one of the areas that doesn't get looked at very much, and it's kind of weird that one player can make such a difference, but Dalton Kincaid, our tight end, there's some really remarkable statistics with the Buffalo Bills offense and Josh Allen when he's in the game and not in the game. And, for instance, the Bills average 30.5 points per game when Kincaid plays as opposed to 23. If you look at Josh Allen's passer rating, it's 149.2 when Kincaid plays as opposed to – when he's actually targeting Kincaid, that's his percentage. His actual game percentage is way up there as well when he plays. So Kincaid being healthy is going to be a huge part of this. You saw him score a touchdown this weekend. Jacksonville made it a point of emphasis to try to take him away. They did okay, but they didn't do it the whole game. Again, I go back to this Buffalo defense, and honestly, yes, you want the run defense to be better, but really McDermott, I don't think he minds trading some running yards to make sure everything stays in front of him, but then lure those quarterbacks into those third down situations where they're throwing into his coverage schemes that are disguised and rotated and everything else. Mm-hmm. And I look at Nix just like I look at Lawrence. I mean, if it confused Lawrence in the amount of time he's played, I don't think that Patrick – I keep wanting to call him Patrick Nix. That's his dad. Bo Nix. I don't think he's anywhere near the experience level that Lawrence has. I think you're in the same boat. So if the Bills can continue to do what they're doing and Josh Allen stay within structure, there was a huge story in Buffalo last week that Joe Brady made a film and gave it to Josh Allen and said, okay, self-scout yourself and then tell me what you think. And he actually brought it up in the media and they said, well, what did you learn? He goes, I learned I made a lot of mistakes. I left a lot of stuff on the field. Mm-hmm. And then you watch the way he played against Jacksonville and he played in that controlled manner. So I think the plays are there. A lot of the hero ball from Josh Allen is because he wants to be the guy pushing it downfield and getting 4,000 yards. Right now, and the way this team's built, that's not going to happen. So he stays in structure. They can fuse Knicks. They can run the football. I think they got a really good chance of winning this game.
All right. Let's head up to old soggy Seattle, right? The 49ers, 7-point dogs against the Seahawks. Mike McDonald, 2-2 against Kyle Shanahan and the Seahawks, and he's dubbed the Shanahan tree killer. Whatever his defense does, it gives the 49ers fits. What do you got? Let's go with Brad Banta, and then we'll get a little Mark Collins and a little Z in that on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle's done a fantastic job defensively this year, and just the question I have for everybody here is, without Kittle, can San Francisco manufacture middle of the field production? That's really what it's going to boil down to. And they start to get a little bit thin at tight end without Kittle being in there. Then are you going to start relying on McCaffrey more and more, where I thought Kittle was able to take a little bit off of McCaffrey just because of everything that he does and not without wearing him down. But look, I know one thing. I had Mike. I was with Mike whenever we were at the University of Michigan, and you talk about a teacher of the game and teacher of defense. He was defensive coordinator at Michigan whenever I was there. And it was fun to work with him, and it was fun to watch him work. Now, the question that Seattle's going to have to answer, and this is more quarterback slanted, is has Darnold put the demons away? That's what everybody is going to be waiting to see. Did he learn from the game that they had to win in Week 18 just to get that number 1 seed? If he plays well, the defense is going to play well. Then Seattle is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the rest of the playoffs.
Already. Who you got? Are you picking Seattle then?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Mark, who you got?
Well, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, and I know they're familiar. They're in the same division and all. But man, Seattle, they look good. San Fran's banged up. They were banged up last week and lost Kittle this last game. It's tough. Once again, it's tough to beat someone 3 times in a row. And this particular time, can it happen? Yeah, it can happen. But there's got to be some spectacular play or some kind of trick play that helps San Fran win. A flea flicker or fake something to make it happen, especially game in Seattle. It's tough. Familiarity, this and that, all the bells and whistles. I'm going to go with the road dog for some reason. I just think that San Fran has the guts and the moxie to get it done this time in Seattle, just simply because it's hard to beat someone 3 times in a row.
Yeah. Now, I do know this about Kyle Shanahan. He'll call a play just to set something else up later. And he may have called a play in that first game and then set up something in that second game to where he unveils it in this third game. Yeah. And then he tried, so I've been impressed with how he's navigated all the injuries and how he's had basically just Juwan Jennings and Demarcus Robinson. Shout out to those guys because they out there balling and they haven't played in a long time. I wish I would have stayed in shape because y'all could have been calling my name. I wouldn't have been hosting. You know what I mean? Bill and Brad could have ran this thing for me. I might have been running routes, pulling hamstrings and all. That's gonna be a good matchup. Okay, what else we got? Rams, Bears. Here we go. This is the one I got. Z. And I'm interested in this one because 3.5-point favorites. Did we already go over this game? No, we didn't. We talked about the young quarterback against Carolina. But now Matt Stafford's going to have to be in 0-degree wind chill. All right, hit his finger. Can he grip the ball? Can he rip it in the cold up there in Chicago? But Z, what do you think, man? Is there enough in Ben Johnson's bag to take down another Shanahan tree member?
I don't know. I mean, I'm excited to watch this game. This game and the Seattle Niner game are my picks of the week. I'm excited to watch, but. I don't know. I think the Rams, are going to come up here, and I know what they've done. I talked about earlier how they come back in the fourth quarter, this is a complete team they're playing now. I mean, they're pretty good on defense, the Rams, I'm saying, and their offense, because Matt, when he gets rolling, it's over. It's the two receivers, the running game, they got it going, So, and Chicago's defense has been struggling, I mean, I know they shut down the Packers in the second half, but I wasn't really a big fan of the Packers, as an offensive team, and Packers defense is all beat up and injured. The two best players are out, but I think the Rams, because they're more of a complete team, they're gonna do away with the Bears, and I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any means, but I think the comebacks are will try to happen in the fourth quarter of the Bears, but the Rams, with Matthew, he's comeback king too now, and he's gonna get those guys rolling down there. So I think it's the Rams win all the way.
Already, Jamil, what you thinking on that one?
Yeah,
what are you looking for?
Well, as far as what I'm looking for, what's interesting about Chicago is they're really fun to watch, right? We enjoy watching, the comebacks that they've had. I think that they've made all the right moves in terms of getting the right guys in there. Offensive line has been rebuilt. That's paid dividends for them, getting this far into the playoffs. When I look at Chicago, though, at some point, like Z said, the comeback magic and the being able to overcome 2-3 turnovers a game, like you run into a team in the playoffs that will take advantage of that. And I think the Rams, given what they went through last week, are in that position of, you can't really play bad football in the playoffs and expect to be able to, escape every week. So I do think this game is going to be competitive. It's going to be fun to watch, especially up front. If you're a fan of, Jared Verse and Byron Young going against this whole offensive line from Chicago, like this is going to be a fun game to watch. I just think that Chicago has made so many mistakes, and those type of things don't work in your favor the further along you get in the playoffs.
I know one thing, I feel, at least with Ben Johnson in Chicago, at least his play calling, he's going to have 5 or so plays that are set up to get 7, right? He's going to scheme something that if they do this, we should score a touchdown. And if you don't give up a touchdown on those big plays, right? If you don't give up those explosive, you generally going to give yourself a chance to stay in the matchup against a Ben Johnson-led team. So what else? We got one other matchup over here. This was going to be a fun one. Y'all talked about them other games. This one I think is going to be just a physical UFC fight. Might even just take the gloves off and just everybody fight in the middle of the field. The Texans and the Patriots, man. That one right there I think is going to be old school football. Just straight up physicality. Who can hit the hardest? Jalen Petrie. Number one, he hits hard as hell. Jalen Petrie. He shows up to the football with attitude, and then now he's wearing that extra padding on the helmet too. I was like, that ain't fair. You can't do both. You can't hit people hard and then get the extra pad. Mark, is that how you used to hit back in the day?
When I had to, only when called upon.
When they were
now, I played 13 years. I got over 800 tackles. It's not bad for a damn corner. So, but I digress. I played within the confines of the rules. I hit hard, and that was it.
I love it.
Just say the rules were different back then.
That is true.
That too.
Y'all had clotheslines and everything.
Yeah,
Dick Night Train Lane and stuff like that. Here, what's the secret sauce of this Texans and the Patriots game? Let's go, Jerry.
I think the biggest part of this is going to be, we're going to go back to C.J. Stroud. And I think one thing that the Patriots do a really good job of defensively, again, and I know I've been harping on it a lot, but it's the one thing that kills young quarterbacks is that way that they play coverage and defense. Milton Williams is the difference maker up the middle. I mean, he's going to make his plays. Defensively, they got some guys, but really where they make their money is in that secondary. Just a lot of confusion and things like that. If you saw the last game they played, it was that way. I don't know if Herbert. Many people knew what coverages that do. I mean, there was actually a comment somebody made about that. They had no idea what coverages they were in. So that's kind of where I see this. And then, of course, the next part of it is then you got that Houston defense, and I think they can get after New England as well. So this has a chance to make sure you bet heavy on the under. I think this could be a big-time under game and one of those games where does a defense, like they did this past week, having 2 fourth-quarter, a fumble for a touchdown and a pick for a touchdown like Houston did. It's going to be a special teams play, defensive score. It's going to be an ugly-looking football game, I think. But right now, when you look at this whole thing, I think the difference maker in the game could be Drake May in his ability to escape and run and utilize his feet. Because look, here's the thing about Houston's defense, guys. We talk about the end so much. Talk about Hunter and we talk about Anderson. They got 2 freaks playing corner too. I mean, freaks. Yeah. Like Stingley did, the freaks. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it's easy if you block up front. You still got to get open. Yeah. So, maybe this is a game where Hunter has another Hunter Henry, their tight end, has another good game. Those types of guys get, the third, fourth option guys are the ones making plays because of the coverage. But, again, I look at that secondary New England against Stroud to get turnovers with confusion, and then can May utilize his athletic ability, his youth, to make plays with his feet and extend drives and things like that. So it should be a good one. I think it's going to be low scoring.
Yeah, 41.5 is the over. Under right now on the 13th over there on FanDuel, folks. Y'all check that out. Who else? Lincoln, Professor Kennedy. You look like you got some good.
No, it's in real quick, Kwame. I agree with everything that everyone said, but there are 2 intangibles, 2 players that are intangibles to me, and it's not quarterback. It's Nico Collins, concussion protocol, and Christian Gonzalez.
That's a good call, Link. Yeah, that's a very good call.
That's where I put it. I think I agree with Jerry. It's going to be a low-scoring game. The team that makes the least amount of mistakes wins. Houston got out of that Pittsburgh game last night by capitalizing on Pittsburgh mistakes. The fumble recovery for a touchdown, the pick 6. That really separated the game, and it was a really tight game. I see the same thing. I know weather's probably going to be an issue for an indoor team from Houston going up to New England that played in that cold-ass weather. So I think that plays in. But I like what both coaches have done with what they did, but those are my 2 intangibles. Those 2 players I said earlier.
I love that. I have a question. For everybody. So, in y'all's, let's just say everybody's experience here, how much does the head coach at halftime have to do with, let's just say, halftime adjustments? How much do they have to do?
If you're talking X's and O's, probably not much. But if you're talking about attitude adjustment, a lot.
Well, that's what I'm kind of getting to. So I got an idea. Throw it out to the league. So you got D'Amico on one side, you got Vrabel on the other. At the what game did they keep rolling the stage on and off? The college game. I forgot which one it was. Because it didn't end. The Ole Miss Georgia game. They kept rolling that stage on and off the field, right? So let's have a cage match at halftime with D'Amico and Vrabel. It's just to see who gets the ball to start the second half. That's what I said. What the hell? What do you think?
I like it.
If they doing that, the head coaches got to get younger for real, man.
I got D'Amico by decision because there's no way that Vrabel get knocked out. He take too much abuse. I'd be like one of them old school fights, like Sugar Ray against somebody.
Roberto
scoring all kinds of points.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I did ask y'all earlier though. What was your X factor for whatever team? I know some of us are on the Bills. But just in this divisional round, who has the X factor? What's their X factor in their specific matchup? I know Lincoln shared his, but what you got? Share some with me. Z, you got one?
Well, like New England, I think because of Vrabel. I think he's going to have those guys prepared, and play, good, solid, sound football. And that's what it is in the playoffs. It's the least amount of mistakes you make. And I think Vrabel, is going to do that, and then they got, the OC there too. That's why that quarterback is so good. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes because they had the GOAT for how many years up there, with all those guys. Mm-hmm. They both were in that building with them. One was a coach, one was a player, and they know what it is, how it is to be an excellent quarterback in pressure situations because of the GOAT, right? So I think that's where New England's going to go far in these playoffs, I think, just because of that.
I like it. Jamil, what you got?
I'm going to take the Rams because of Matt Stafford. He's the MVP this year, in my opinion, and I believe that, his ability, his experience in being in these close games, being a Super Bowl champion, I think that's going to help propel the Rams out of the NFC, so I'll take Matt Stafford.
Okay, good deal. Mark, before you go, what you got?
I would say the Rams. I got a 1 and a 1A. Puka Nacua, because of his attitude, his tenacity, is off the charts.
Yeah.
And the 1A are the Rams. The Rams got 3 tight ends.
Yeah,
And I don't remember the names. One's Parkinson.
Parkinson. Yeah,
Them dudes, I'm telling you, they are a legit X factor. If you can't cover them, you're going to get beat. So those are my X factors.
all right, Brad, what you got?
Damn. I mean, yeah, I got to go with what Jeff said, just for the simple reason with McDaniels being up there and Drake May. The experience that Drake can draw from not only the OC, but also the head coach. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Love it. Professor. Who's your
Didn't I give my X factors?
Oh, well, I guess you did.
No, you're talking about just throughout the playoffs?
Yeah,
I'm
like,
going to throw one
over?
last one. Look, I watched the quarterback this weekend run to his left, square his shoulders up, and throw a 30-yard dime that dropped in over a safety or a linebacker into the receiver's hands for a big first down. Caleb Williams is an impressive ass quarterback. I'm just dropping it straight. Anybody who can do that, I hadn't seen Patrick Mahomes do that stuff. And I know a lot of times he tries to be improvised, stuff like that. But the Chicago Bears have a positive future with that young man being able to do things like that. Very impressive.
Awesome. Jerry, what you got?
We can do any game.
Any game.
Well, I'm going to stick with what I know, and I'm going to see if everybody keeps telling me that Sean Payton is the guru of gurus, and he's coaching the Denver Broncos, and I'm going to see if Sean McDermott can outcoach the guru this weekend. I think that's the big thing. I think you're looking at that, and everybody's tied Bo Nix's success to Sean Payton. They've tied the Denver Broncos' success to Sean Payton. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. If Sean Payton is that guy that makes the difference, or if Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, and the Bills can come in and get that done. So, and by the way, Pittsburgh is in a similar situation as Payton, as Sean Payton was with Tomlin retiring. They retain his rights. So if he goes somewhere else, a trade will have to be worked out, not just they sign him. So that was also probably strategically done as well.
Interesting. I like that one. I'll go with this one. I'm going to go with that Seattle-San Fran matchup. I'm going to say that Kyle Shanahan's way to plan ahead of time, he's probably creative enough to come up with something that's going to get his team ahead of the Seattle Seahawks. Because frankly, you got 2 quarterbacks that could turn the ball over. Brock Purdy's made some risky throws. Sam Darnold's got some history that everybody's not sure he's going to get past. So we'll have to tune in and see. Saturday and Sunday, divisional round of the football is going down. I'm excited for this, man. We're almost to the playoffs, almost to the Super Bowl, I should say. But that means we're going to have more episodes of this. So for everybody on the screen, I'm Anthony Armstrong. Y'all stay safe, be good, and call your mama. Talk to you later.